So my name is Mike Della Rocha. The best intro was actually a couple weeks ago. Someone said, hey, meet my friend Mike. He fights crime and plays music. And so I fight crime and play music. I'm currently the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Californians for Safety and Justice, which is a statewide organization in California, working to increase safety and reduce costs by doing sentencing reform and advocacy in Sacramento. But what I'm really here to talk about is living our life for purpose. There's two kind of main things I want to talk about. The first one is this. The best definition I got for purpose in life was your purpose is what you're passionate about in service to the world. So if you're doing something you're not that passionate, it's probably not your purpose. But to come full circle, it's got to be in service to making the world a better place. The second thing is that art can change the world. Now, I know, I'm an artist, so of course I'm going to say art changes the world. But on the way up here, for example, I was listening to Macklemore, and he has a song called, Same Love. A young person trying to come out, that song is giving that person courage to be who they are. Or my wife and I were listening to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill driving down here from LA. And that album, how both of us get over relationships. Or, Bob Marley or John Lennon brought continents, I would argue, together. And so I want us just to suspend our judgment for a little bit and just think about art changing the world. So I'm going to start off where it all began for me as a kid. Ever since I could remember, I always wanted to be an artist. Favorite artist back then was Michael Jackson. In high school, I got most likely to impersonate Prince. And I just wanted to be an artist, but not just any artist. I wanted to be an artist that mattered, that made a difference. And so it was artists like I mentioned before, John Lennon. It was artists like Public Enemy. It was artists like Rage Against the Machine. It was artists like U2 and Bono in particular that taught me not only about the world, but about myself. And so 4 years ago, I had a big dream. And it was basically a dream to go across the country and play my music as a way to stimulate conversation, kind of similar to what's going on here. But 4 years ago, the truth of the matter was, when I really think about it, and since we're being honest, I was scared. I was really nervous. I didn't have enough self-confidence. And I kept coming up with reasons why it wouldn't work. I was too old. I have a family. You can't turn on the radio and hear Mike Della Rocha, hopefully yet, but you can't hear it now. And I didn't have a big corporation behind me. There's all this negative chatter. And I didn't have enough faith. And then about a little bit more than a year ago, my wife and I found out that we were going to be parents again to this beautiful baby boy, Mio Amiri Della Rocha. And he is the absolute love of my life. And he, more than anything else, was my catalyst. He taught me not that I was fearless all of a sudden, but he taught me to follow my dream despite my fear, despite my own insecurities, despite me having all this chatter and talk. There's a quote that I want to read. The most secret, sacred wish that lies deep down at the bottom of your heart, the thing that you would rather die than to have anyone else know, that is the very thing that you must do. And so with that quote in my heart, I knew that I had to do something. So last year, I created the Living Rooms Across America tour. It was a tour that took me to 10 cities and 10 states in the 10 weeks leading up to the presidential election. It allowed me to go into the homes of complete strangers, play my music, and the mix of music and storytelling, genuine stories, your personal experiences, was a way to take issues that are very difficult to talk about, whether it was immigration or the education system or what have you, and it showed the humanity behind the issue. It was a beautiful thing. It was modeled after Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers. Back in the 60s and the 70s, they did a series of house parties to raise awareness of the conditions of farm workers throughout California and throughout the country. So they would go into the homes because, if you invite someone into your home, you're more open. So they would come and talk about the conditions, but then they would also talk about the pesticides and how they were getting in the vegetables and the fruit and how it was impacting all of us, how all of us were becoming sick. Then from door to door they went. The Kennedys got involved, as you can see in this picture, became a movement. Some of the most progressive laws around working conditions as well as around pesticides came about through this idea. So I said, what if I just infused music? Since music for me has always been a catalyst as a way to bring people together, I said, why don't I take the playbook from the United Farm Workers, add music, and see what could happen. The Living Room Conversation tour went extremely well. And then last year, November of last year, I met a woman named Jessica Malkin, who's the executive director of Chicago Ideas Week, which is similar to like a TED-like series, but it's a week-long every October in Chicago. And three things really kind of attracted me to Chicago Ideas Week. The first was the fact that it was the same speakers that go around the world and speaking at these big conferences, but it was only $15 per session. So it was very financially accessible. The second was that it was throughout the city of Chicago in different places. So it was accessible by public transportation or walking or car or what have you. So they really wanted the community to get involved. But then the main thing was they launched a campaign called What If Chicago? And it was basically they partnered with Twitter. And they said, could we crowdsource solution to stopping violence in America? And in particular, could we get people to give their ideas about how to get illegal guns off the streets of Chicago? Within one day, a couple million people were tweeting. Within 2 weeks, 14 days, 407 million people across the globe were tweeting solutions. What if Chicago became what if Mexico City? What if Philadelphia? What if Los Angeles? And from a marketing PR perspective, it was huge because people were engaged talking about the issue of violence, but giving their ideas. When I met Jessica, she said, you know, it was truly successful from a marketing perspective, but from a policy, legislative level, nothing really changed. And as you know right now, the levels of violence in Chicago are astronomical. So she said, could we partner and you facilitate conversations through your living room tour with elected officials, cultural influencers, and more importantly, the community residents dealing with violence every single day? And we said yes. So right now I'm engaged, I'm on a 5-city tour. Los Angeles, California, Jackson, Mississippi, New York City. I go to Detroit next week, and then Chicago. And what we're doing is we're going into the homes of different cultural influencers and bringing the residents dealing with crime and violence every day to really share what the solution is going to be. I oftentimes go to a lot of different things, let's say homelessness, for example. And we're talking about how we're going to end homelessness in America. But there's no one that's homeless in that conversation. You see, I believe that all of us have a role to play in any issue. And my true heart in what I do know is that if we really want to stop violence in America, or if we really want to fix our broken education system, then all of us have to work together. All of us have a role to play. So I want to share a story. Politics, in my opinion, needs to change. And the way that I think we change politics is by changing the culture. And the way we change culture is by all of us sharing our stories. And so one story in particular I want to share is of this woman, Erica Ford. 2 weeks ago, I had the honor of performing in a legend, Harry Belafonte, civil rights legend that I've looked up to as an artist ever since I was a child. And his office looks just like a living room. And I had a chance to perform there and facilitate as part of this tour. And we had some of the biggest corporate leaders in the room. We had elected officials' offices in the room. But we had Erica Ford in the room. And Erica Ford has been working in Jamaica, Queens for over 30 years, keeping violence down. When I first met her the Friday before that Saturday performance, I walk into her office and for 3 hours watch magic happen. She's literally talking to this young man who's almost 19 years old. And for almost a year, because of her work, there's been not a single shot fired in this project in Jamaica, Queens. All of a sudden, this young man, his best friend, gets shot in the face. All the anger that he has, he just wants to explode and retaliate for his neighborhood, for his pride, for his best friend. And I see Erica Ford go and talk him out with love, talk him out of doing that. So Erica comes to this living room show, and we're playing music and having a conversation. And then this man in his 40s starts talking. He says, you know, Erica Ford changed my life. I said, yeah, how? He goes, a year ago, the love of my life, my daughter, was murdered. right here in Queens. And he said, but one of the good things that happened from that, what Erica taught me was I got to meet this other woman. He puts his hand out to the left. There's a woman about in her 50s. And he says, this woman is the mother of the person that killed my daughter. And that was the power, epitome of forgiveness, epitome of love. And I said, well, what do you do? He goes, the two of us go into projects and say, let's stop the killing, because there's victims on both sides of the gun. And I'm here to tell you that the hole I have in my heart from losing my daughter, I don't want you to experience. And the mother says, I don't want you to experience having to lose your son in a living tomb where I'll never get to see him and hold him outside ever again. And the power of that, the outcome, was that those directly dealing with the violence are speaking and having conversation with no different than this room. So one of the things that happened was October 1st, which is in a few days, we're going to launch a Kickstarter campaign to raise no less than $100,000 for Erica Ford. Because public safety is not just hiring more police officers. Public safety is not just building more prisons. Public safety is investing in you and investing in Erica Ford. So a quote that is driving the tour and what we give out to everyone is from Howard Zinn. And he says, small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. And I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that all of us can and do. If we embrace our biggest fear, and if we follow our purpose in life, then we can make a difference. One thing that a dear mentor of mine, his name is Luis Rodriguez. And Luis Rodriguez wrote a book called Always Running. Now, as an artist, I wish I could tell you this for myself, but it's Luis's title. He has the most checked out and stolen book in American libraries, which I think is really cool. Always Running. And he taught me this story. See, I believe a lot in specifically practicing African and Native spiritual traditions. And as a father of a 6-month-old and 1-day little boy, I could honestly tell you this as a truth. There's a belief in Africa and in many Native American nations that when a baby is brought into this world, and those parents in the room could testify to this, a baby's hands are clenched really, really tight. Like really tight. I mean, you can't even put your finger in there or a pencil or anything. And the reason why is because the belief is that we are carrying our destiny, our purpose from another world in our palms of our hands. So when we come into this world, we come already with a reason for being alive. And the purpose of life is really to open up your hands. Because when you open up your hands, you're not only sharing your gift with the world, but you're also receiving other people's gifts for the world. And so when I go back to that Howard Zinn quote, it really is about us supporting each other to follow that purpose in life, despite our fears, despite our own insecurities. So in closing, I thought it would be great for me to share my own story, my own gift, my own purpose of the world. It's a song that I wrote called Just Be You. And what I continue to learn as I get older is that the most radical thing that any one of us could really do, the most revolutionary thing, the way that we can change the world, is by simply being ourselves, our complete selves, loving and accepting all of us, no matter if we're broken or not. That, in its own way, is starting a ripple effect that changes the course of history. And so I thank you, and I ask you to open your heart and think about your purpose, and I will play this song. So, all right. Oh, I just want to say, I want to dedicate this song to there's never coincidences in life. Everything happens for a reason, and so it's been 10 years since I saw my dear friend Astrid, and so I'm so glad you're here that we can share this together. So this song's called Just Be You. I see your beauty, but you're not too sure. You don't know your worth, don't know that you're a star, but I see you. I see who you are, 'cause there's no one like you. So don't be like everyone, just be you. Just be you. You've got the whole world all up in your arms. If you there's no one like you. So don't be like everyone, just be you. Just be you. It'll all work out if you believe in you. It'll all work out. But there's no one like you. So don't be like everyone. Don't be like everyone. But the world don't have no one like you. So don't be like everyone. Don't be like everyone. No, don't be like everyone. Just be you. Just be you. Just be you. Just be you. Just be you.